Well, Rupert, thank you for actually giving me my first question. I'll ask Bob just that. Bob, day 2 of the Brics Summit, how have you found the proceedings and all the announcements that have been made so far?
I must say it's been an exhilarating few days, and I think what is really standing out for me is the energy that people have around the Brics. And for us as a company, we do about 90% of our business in the Brics countries, so it's really the most important place for us to be.
I mean, of course, now the conversation is about Brics and Africa. We're seeing quite a lot of extension to African delegates this time around in the meeting, because the conversation really is about how the Brics can unite better with Africa, given a lot of protectionist talk that's going on in the Western world. What's your view on stronger African ties outside of South Africa, of course?
No, I think and again, I think it was very palpable in the last few days that President Xi said it well yesterday, 80% of the economic growth in the world comes from the Brics countries. And I think Africa is very much the continent of the future. So I think for Africa to be connected to Brics is actually the absolute right answer. And I think everybody who is here has the energy to make that actually happen.
And of course, I mean, an enabling environment is one that is said to welcome capital, and a lot of business people looking to do a lot of deals here in Brics and also on the continent. I mean, what do you say about the enabling environment, and perhaps some advice for some government officials?
No, I think some of the discussions that are going on around creating a customs union, I think are very, very beneficial. I think on the other side, what is exciting for us as an internet investor is that smartphone penetration in Africa is growing really, really rapidly. I think where Africa previously was disconnected from the online world for a large extent, that is really changing so quickly. I think whatever regulators and governments can do to get people access to the internet in their hand, I think will first empower people and also give lots of opportunity for innovation, new business models. I think that's exactly what the continent needs, and I think it will allow Africa to leapfrog a lot of sort of old technology and go straight into a mobile-enabled world. So that's what I hope.
Bob, I was in Cape Town yesterday. I was chatting to some of the leaders of the development finance institutions. We're talking about plugging this infrastructure, this $1 trillion infrastructure hole. Regarding communications infrastructure, I mean, is this something that will enable a player like Naspers to do more deals on the continent?
Yeah, so we're not an infrastructure player ourselves, but we are in delivering internet products critically dependent on people having not only good mobile internet, but also having affordable mobile internet. So I think we've seen already good developments, but historically mobile broadband's been really expensive in Africa. I think that held us back, and I think the trend is the right one, and fostering competition in the telecom sector and getting better infrastructure. And I think it's so important for people to have access to applications that can make their life better. And always for us, it's a good business opportunity, but I think it's critical for Africans to have that opportunity.
And of course, the theme is collaboration for inclusive growth and shared prosperity in that fourth industrial revolution. And I need to get your thoughts on the disruption that has come about Naspers' MultiChoice's DSTV model. You have tried to shape yourselves up a little bit with Showmax, but how are you ensuring that even a Showmax can't suffer disruption from innovation that is happening at lightning speed across the world?
No, I think you say it exactly the right way, right? So business models change, and they change quite quickly. And I think linear TV is going to be around for a long time, but increasingly people are going to want to watch on demand, and they will really change the way they consume video. And I think we have to change as a company. I think we made steps in the right direction with Showmax, DSTV now, but I think a lot more change needs to happen. And I think the competition from the likes of YouTube and Netflix is really fierce, because they do an excellent job. They're everywhere, everybody knows the brand, so we really need to shape up.
Tencent, I can't let you go without talking about that. There's a lot of nervousness across South Africa's equity market, specifically regarding Tencent's outlook in this backdrop of increased trade tensions between the US and China. Can you allay some of those fears?
Yeah, I think I can. So maybe a few components to that. First of all, if you look how Tencent makes its money, it is not particularly depending on any international trade, right? It's very much a domestically driven business when it comes to the Chinese part of the business, that it's depending on consumer spending, not so much on cross-country flows. I think the direct business is actually quite robust for any of the trade insecurity. I think the thing why I'm very sort of disappointed about the direction that's being taken by the American administration is that I think it hurts investor confidence and it hurts the overall business climate. And I think in the end, everybody will suffer. So specifically, I think Tencent is very robust for anything that's going on. As many of our other businesses, we back local entrepreneurs that typically make their money in country at building a great business, but the global investor sentiment is negative and it's bad for all of us.
True, robust Tencent as it's not much an exporter, it's reliant on a robust consumer in China. But what about the argument that, you know, we've got trade tensions that will hurt global growth entirely, even this robust growth that we've seen out of the Chinese economy? Is this something that concerns you?
So I think for overall growth prospects, I think you're quite right. This is bad news. I think if you look at the dependency on sort of the trajectory of a business like Tencent, but also another one like OLX, they're not critically dependent on what overall GDP is, right? We're much more driven by smartphone penetration growth, e-commerce growth, which typically have some impact from overall GDP growth, but it's not very much.
Sure, Bob, I'm actually going to throw back to studio because my colleague Godfrey Mutizwa is itching to ask you a question, as any credible financial journalist in South Africa would want to ask the CEO of the biggest company that is listed on the JSE. Godfrey.
Absolutely, thank you, Fifi. I actually wanted to know from Bob who is meeting at this summit and why he is there.
Beautiful question. Bob, who are you meeting at the summit and why are you here?
Why am I here? So I think I mentioned it a little bit at the start. We are, if you look at the composition of our business, very much a Brics company, an online Brics company. So we have 90% of our revenue comes from Brics countries. And obviously South Africa is where we started, so we still have a good part of our business there. China is very important for us, as you know. But India, if you look in the last few years, we mainly invested in India. Actually, India online space has been critically important for us, as is Brazil and Russia. So it's almost, if I take my top 5 countries in the world, they are these countries. So that's why we're here, and we managed to see people. I've seen a lot of business contacts because obviously we gather here, and that's been very, very useful. And been having a few interesting conversations with people from government as well as how we together can really take Brics to the next level, and in the process make actually things better for all the countries involved, and indeed the extension of that to Africa. So business leaders, but as well as members of government, I think are all working in the same direction. It was really nice to see.
I mean, Bob, you know South Africa very good at hosting a conferences, very good at talking, very bad at actually implementing on some of those things that need to be done to take things like Brics, even our country, forward. I mean, how confident are you that the conversations that you're having with government officials will actually result in action?
Yeah, so we will see. But what I've been really impressed with is the level of enthusiasm and energy. And sometimes you're trying to achieve something where people are not aligned. I think this is very different. I think the interests are aligned, and the level of energy behind making Brics stronger and making it a force for good, I think is universal. So I'm really positive.
And of course, you are really positive on the outlook of Naspers going forward. You're looking aggressively for what many call the next lucky bet, that is Tencent. I mean, how's that search going for you?
Yeah, to call Tencent a lucky bet, lucky it certainly was. Actually, we started investing in China quite early, and I must say that we made plenty of mistakes as well. I think when we met Pony Ma and their team, there was this conviction of the quality of this leadership team that we have been backing since. So I would say on Tencent side, it was not luck at all. It's the most amazing team in the world that's built an absolutely unparalleled business. But it's actually what we do as a company. So if you look in India, the businesses we've invested in have a very similar characteristic. We meet a great entrepreneur early. We support the business, and they build something tremendous over time. Like we invested in Flipkart, which is an online commerce company in India at the time when there was no logistics in India, there were no credit cards, there was nothing really. And somebody had a dream to build this great e-commerce business out of nowhere in India. We supported them, and it's a great business worth $20 billion.
Worth $20 billion. A quick one, last one actually. You are looking at making inroads into the US, or you have made, if you can just correct me there. I mean, that is quite a difficult economy right now because of what many may call a very unstable president who does what he wants, when he wants, and so forth. Your experience of doing business in the US and your plans for that country?
Yeah, so the investment we've done in the US most recently is in a company called Letgo. And what it basically does, it allows people to trade stuff they don't need anymore on a mobile app. And it does it with lots of machine learning, so it's super easy and nice for people. And the reason why we got excited with it, not so much because of the American market, but mainly the founder of it is called Alec Oxenford. He's an amazing guy, you should speak to him at some stage. He founded OLX as well.
Right.
So we worked with him before, he had this idea, say in the US, this market is not well served. So people want to trade their secondhand stuff and they are not doing it and have lots of it.
Sure.
And he said, I have a plan to do that in the best possible way with machine learning, and do you want to back me? And we said, we will. And the US is a big market, and people have I think on average $5,000 worth of unused goods in their attic. So that's what we backed, and so far he's been doing a fantastic job.
So
he has almost 100 million downloads.
All right, so sounding very confident there, Bob. Thanks so much for your time. We'll let you get back to the Brics proceedings there. That was Bob van Dijk, who is the CEO of Naspers